Alright, what's up? Hi YouTube. Sorry, I'm trying to get my mic situation right. So you guys are gonna have to bear with me for a little bit. Let me know if you guys can hear me once you're in. What's up, everybody? I'm so excited to post tonight because this is the first time that I'm actually posting from my new apartment. I have been moving and settling in and getting everything right, and it definitely took a long time, more than I thought, and then all of a sudden the holidays hit me. So I hadn't been posting for a little while, but I wanted to make sure to jump on and get a live going tonight because I've been getting a lot of questions about the past couple of videos that I've been posting about investing. So specifically about the IRAs, people have been asking a lot of questions about that. And also just people have been asking questions in general about credit as always. So I figured, it'd be a really good time to connect with you guys on live and just jump on and answer some of the questions and connect with you guys and see how everybody's doing around the holidays. So get up in here. Tell me what your questions are. I'm really excited to talk to you guys. What's up, the Anderson? I see Elver Galaga on here. You guys are really early, so thank you for jumping in. I posted a quick like a flyer earlier to tell people that I was going to do a live tonight, but besides that, I didn't really talk about it. So hopefully enough people will pop in. Let me see if I can jump on here and see some of you guys' questions so I don't have to look at my phone all the time like I did last time because it was like throwing me off a little bit. Can you guys hear me? Happy holidays to you too, Trig. I'm really excited to jump on with you guys because the holidays like literally flew by, like Thanksgiving at least came by so fast and then was gone, and I didn't really get a chance to post or talk about Thanksgiving or talk about holiday spending and things like that. So today we're doing a Q&A. So you guys throw the topics at me. I see JC asked what's the topic. You guys throw me questions and I'm just going to be talking about the different questions that you guys have for me tonight. The year definitely flew by. Like I remember, I think at the beginning of the year I started with like my hair was so short when I did my live, and like I think it was like February around there, and I had just cut my hair, and look at my hair, it's so long now. So like there you go, that's time passing by. There's proof that it's been a long year, but it flew by. I did not expect it to go by so quickly, but this year has been amazing. I've gotten a lot of things done. Who's that? Brothers Lawn Care. Of course I will give you a shout out. Thank you for joining, Jessica. Thank you for that compliment. That's so sweet. Jessica said I look great. Thank you. But no, really, I wanted to jump on because I feel like this year, even though it flew by, I feel like we got a lot of amazing things in this year, and there's a lot of exciting changes coming up. I know it's been rough for some people, but there's definitely some exciting things going on. So yeah, I mean, I moved, I got into an apartment, I was traveling over the summer. There's so much that happened that I feel like, it's crazy that it all went by so fast. I'm just going to jump onto Instagram Live too, just in case people have questions on Instagram Live as well. And I'm going to welcome them as well. Hey, what's up everybody on Instagram Live? I'm doing my YouTube Live right now, but just wanted to jump in on here as well. So if you guys have questions, throw them at me. I just saw somebody say, does student loans hurt your credit score? And the answer is yes. It can hurt or it can help depending on how you handle your loans, right? So I didn't really have that many student loans because I got a full ride to college, but I had one student loan because I wanted to study abroad in college, and so I took out, I think it was like $5,000 to go study abroad for a few months over the summer. And when I did that, I didn't really understand the loan. I didn't understand the terms. I didn't know anything about interest or how compound interest works. I didn't know nothing, and I was really desperate for a loan, so I just accepted the terms and conditions. And later on I found out that my loan was probably like, it was a little higher than average. Like the average student loan is probably like 4 or 5% if you go with federal loans, but I ended up getting one that was like 9%. It was like 9 point something percent, so that was a little high, and I ended up paying it off as quickly as I could because I didn't want it to grow. And then at the same time I was trying to deal with my credit card debt, which is another situation, but I ended up consolidating to do that. So yes, it can affect your credit if you don't pay your student loans on time, especially if you go into default. That means if you go more than 90 days without paying your loans. What's up, Tita? Look, my sister's on, you guys. Oh, my family showing me love. But yeah, if you guys, like if you don't pay your loans, then of course it's going to default, which means that you're going to be, it's going to show that you're not paying for more than 90 days. If you're not paying for 3 months or more, then of course it's going to come up as a delinquency on your credit report, which will hurt your credit score by a lot. So those things don't go away. They don't wipe them right away. It takes a long time. So it's better for you to be on top of your minimum payments at the very least. And then if you can afford to, and you have money to be able to put more than the minimum payment towards your student loans, then you should definitely do that. I recommend that you guys, I wish I could just like pause this and go live on the internet right now to show you guys how I would do it. But no matter what your student loan situation is, what you can do is go to Google and just type in student loan calculator. And when you do that, you're going to get a whole bunch of ads, of course. Don't click the ads. Just go to the first one that's not an ad. I think right now, usually the first one that pops up is from bankrate.com. Click any of the student loan calculators. What you can do is type in how much debt you owe, what the student debt percentage rate is. So you need to know your APR. You have to know the percentage by which your loan is growing. Once you know that, you can type that in and you can put what monthly payment you want to make or how many months you want to spend paying it off. Hey, what's up, True Financials? Thank you for joining tonight. But once you do that, it's going to tell you, hey, this is how much interest you're going to end up paying if you follow this plan. And then you can change the numbers. Put, okay, well, what if I take twice as long to pay it? It'll show you that you're going to pay more interest doing it that way. What if I take half as much time to pay and I send more payments, if I send more money every month? And it will hurt you because it's going to cost more every month, but you'll be done much faster. And the company that you have your student loans with won't be able to make that much interest off you. So that is definitely something I recommend you do for anybody who's struggling with student loans or trying to come up with a plan. You know, sit down and think about what are the options, right? What if you go with a really expensive plan? That means that you're spending a lot of money every month. It's probably going to save you the most in interest. But if it's not realistic for you, maybe you want to go with a medium plan or a lower plan for now until you increase your income, go hard, get a side hustle, get up a second job or something so you can send more money. Maybe you can move over to the higher plan. So that's definitely something that I recommend. So express it, love it. Thank you. I can't help it. It's probably like my New York and then mixed with my Dominican. I'm like moving my hands all the time. But yeah, so that's probably the best advice I can give you. And when I go to do student workshops, especially in high schools, I always have the students do a student loan calculator, and they look at it and they go, oh my God, like, wait, if I take 10 years to pay it off, they're going to make an extra $3,000 off me just in interest fees. And I'm like, and then the students, they see it themselves. Then they go, okay, if I pay it off in 5 years, that means I have to send $750 every single month to my student loans, and then I'll be done in 5 years, and they will only make $1,200 off me. I'm like, yep. So once they start to crunch the numbers, they can see for themselves instead of somebody telling them. They can experience it on their own. So I 100% recommend you guys check out a student loan calculator. That is definitely something that will show you realistically like what the different options are, and then you can go from there. I'm trying to jump on here and see some of the questions that you guys have, but for some reason, I'm not able to see them. So I'm just going to keep taking them from you guys. Okay, so I see a couple questions. So the new FICO scoring system, is it optional, and how can we opt out? Yes, it is optional. Basically what that means is you don't have to opt in or opt out. What you do is if you ever get rejected for credit, for say you're applying for a credit card or for a student loan or personal loan, and you get rejected, then what you can do is say, hey, actually I want you to check my new ultra FICO score on top of the other score so you can see if I'm eligible now, because it gives them extra information. So no, it is not required. A lot of people actually ask me that, especially after I posted the video about the ultra FICO score. People are like, but what if I don't want them to look at my banking information? 100% not required for you to allow them to enter your bank account and look at your information. It is 100% something that you can only choose to add on if you want to. So that's to give you more chances to get approved if your bank account is actually okay, but you don't have the best credit situation going on. Then the bank account might give you a better chance. I saw somebody ask about credit card calculators. Yes, you can definitely do a credit card calculator the same way that you could do a student loan calculator. You could go on Google and type in credit card calculator. And that way you can see, okay, if my interest is accruing every single day, or if it's building up every single month or every single year, and you know your interest, and you can put how much you owe, what your interest is, and you can start to see, okay, this is how much I have to send every month if I want to be done in 4 years. This is how much I have to send if I want to be done in 2 years. And this is how much interest they're going to charge me if I spend more time than that to pay it. So I 100% recommend using credit card calculators to come up with a plan that works for you. I didn't do that when I was paying off my credit card debt. I didn't use a credit card calculator because I didn't know about that, but it's such a good tool that you can use. What I did instead was I just literally sat down with a pen and paper, my little calculator, and I calculated out how much interest I was going to end up paying based on my statements if I kept on making the minimum payments. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. It was just ridiculous how much money they were going to make off me because my credit cards were like $20 25% interest and up. So I knew that I had to, get rid of that. So I ended up taking a loan that was like 7.9% or something like that. And then I used the loan to pay off the credit cards and just send my monthly payment every month to the loan. And I talk about that in one of my videos, so you guys can definitely go check out more details about that. But use a credit card calculator, because I wish I had known that tool was out there. It would have helped me to save time using my, pen and paper, scratching out all my numbers and stuff. Also, in regards to credit cards, what's the best way to pay them off? So that totally depends on you. That's a question from the Budget River. I think, or the Budget Thriver. Hey, the Budget Thriver. I think it really depends on you. If you're willing to consolidate all of your debt to be able to save money on your interest, then you should probably think about consolidation. But if you're not interested in consolidation because you feel like you could probably just manage it with multiple credit cards, or if you just have one credit card, then what you need to do is sit down and do the credit card calculator and look at how much it's going to cost you to get rid of that debt. If it means that you're not spending enough on your debt right now, you might need to cut back on some of your expenses. You might need to lower your lifestyle a little bit and maybe not be so bougie right now for a little while until you grow into a place where you have the money to be able to spend more on certain things because your debt is a little bit more manageable. So that's what I did. It took me 2 years to get out of debt, and that was me sending a lot of money every single month because I wasn't making that much money at that time. I was a teacher and I had $20,000 of credit card debt, so I had to pay like pretty much almost my whole check every month was going to my credit cards, which sucked. But you know what? Now I get to move into this really swanky, nice little studio in Manhattan, in Long Island City. So it's nice. Like you can change the way that you live. It's just that it means that you have to sacrifice for a short period of time in order to be able to benefit for a longer period of time. So that's what I would say. It really depends on your personal preference. And if you're willing to make a sacrifice for the short term, or if you're willing to sacrifice longer, then you might be able to get out of debt much faster. It depends on how much you're willing to sacrifice. I see a lot of questions coming in from Instagram. So what bank gives you 7%? I don't know of any bank that's going to give you 7% right now. I don't know that it exists. If it is, it's probably going to be freezing your money for a long time. So probably a CD, maybe freezing your money for multiple years. They might give you 7%. But at the end of the day, right now, the only way you can really bank on getting 7% somewhere is probably going to be a bond for a really long time, or even bonds right now are like 4%. Like I don't even know that they give you 7%. The 7% is probably going to be the average performance of a fund in the stock market, to be honest. Like on average, the stock market performs 9%, 8%, 10% even, depending on what decade, what 10-year period of time you're looking at. So it's really rare that you're going to find a bank that's going to give you 7%. Like, please tell me, if you know a bank that's giving 7%, put it in the comment section, because I've never heard of it. Right now, interest rates are so low. The economy is not doing so well that they're starting to give higher percentages in the banks. That's just not what's happening. So unfortunately, people have to invest money if they want to see more than 2 to 3% return. So that's just what it is. Do the companies who charge to fix your credit report really work? Some of them do. I want to warn you guys, there are a lot of scams out there when it comes to fixing your credit. So you got to do your homework. You have to do your research. And at the end of the day, what I would say when it comes to fixing credit is just like losing weight and getting in shape. If you want to get in shape, you have two choices. You can do it yourself every single day by waking up and doing some exercise in your living room, or you can hire a personal trainer. It's the same thing with fixing your credit. You could probably do it on your own. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of work. You have to be on the phone with the credit bureaus. You have to call companies. You have to write letters. You have to do all this work. But if you're willing to do it by yourself, you won't have to pay anybody for that service. If you're not willing to put in that work, or you know that you don't have that motivation and that energy and that effort is probably not going to come out of you right now, and you have extra income and you're willing to invest in somebody to help you, then fine. It's just like a personal trainer. I'm not going to tell anybody that they shouldn't get a personal trainer, because if the personal trainer is the only way that you're going to be able to reach your weight goals, then why would I tell you not to do that, right? I mean, financially, hopefully you can swing it. But at the end of the day, if you have goals that you want to meet and you know that that's going to be one way to get it done, and you're less likely to be able to do it on your own because you're not motivated, then you might want to find a credit repair company. Right now, I don't really know any that I would recommend because I've never done credit repair services. I just went to Google and Googled how do I fix my own credit, and utilization came up. I learned about it. I posted on YouTube. I started telling people about it. And then I also learned about payment history and types of credit and new credit and inquiries and all these things that I had to make sure I was keeping, in check so that my credit score could go up. And I tell you, I did it myself and I managed to increase my credit score by like 100 points or more. So it really does not necessarily 100% require a trainer or like a credit repair person to help you and train you and guide you. But at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do, who am I to tell you that that's not the way to do it? Because it has worked for a lot of people. So, but it really depends. And I would encourage you to do your research and really, really, really dig deep and make sure that the company is worth it before you sign anything and before you give anybody any money, because there's a lot of scams on the internet. So you want to be careful. Is 750 a good credit score or excellent? 750 is the very beginning of the excellent threshold. So what that means is you're at the very beginning. That's like saying, like you got a 93, like you're at the cusp of like an A minus, A plus, right? So if you lose any points, you're going to drop to the good category. But if you don't lose any points, you'll stay excellent. So credit scores go up and down all the time. It just depends. Like you could lose points for any little thing. Let's say utilization goes up 1%. Boom, your credit score goes down a couple points. So if you had a 750 and you lose a couple points, you're now not excellent anymore. So what I recommend is that you try to go over 750 so that if you do drop below 750, your credit category is not going to change from excellent to good. It's going to stay excellent. So that is definitely a good question. Woohoo! I'm finally able to go into the live control room and see some more questions from my YouTube followers. All right, so I'm gonna go into here and see what some of you guys are saying. And Instagram, definitely keep throwing questions at me because I will answer them, but I do want to jump in and see what some YouTube questions are right now. So I see, can you give us a shout out? I already did that. Student loans hurt, I talked about that. I can't complain, this year credit financially has been a blessing. That's good. I'm glad the year is going really well for people. Ultra FICO, we already talked about. Let's see. I like to pay extra towards my principal on any debt to really make an impact. 100% yes. If you're only making minimum payments, what happens is a lot of times with debt companies that you owe, that you have debt with, anytime you send $1, the dollar goes right away to the interest. Because that benefits them. If they can charge you a certain percentage on that original balance, which is called the principal, if you owe $100 and every time you have to pay 5% interest every year, they're going to charge 5% on that $100. So if you have an interest amount that's racked up, let's say $5 for the first year, now you owe $105. Say you send $5. If they put that $5 towards the interest, then your principal, your original amount is still $100. But if they put it towards your original amount, your principal, now your principal is down to $95. So when they charge you 5% again, they can only charge you like $4.25 instead of charging you $5 because they're taking 5% of $95 since they removed $5 off that original balance. That doesn't help them because they make less money in the long run. So most companies do not let you put your payments towards principal. And this happens across the board, whether you're paying a credit card, whether you're paying student loans, whether you're paying personal loans, whether you're paying back an auto loan, whether you're paying back a mortgage. Sometimes there's loopholes around it, like once or twice, but for the most part, every time you make a payment, it goes towards the interest and not the principal balance. So that keeps you in debt longer because they keep charging you more interest, and then it takes you more time to try to get out of it. So definitely, if you can afford it, put way more than the minimum payment and try to put payments that will knock out the interest so you can start hitting that principal, that original balance, bring it down. So when they charge you interest, they charge you less. That is definitely a smart way to do it. I've been using the velocity calculator for debt. That's great. I hope you check that one out. I haven't heard of that one, but I bet you it's great if somebody's saying they've been using it and it works. Am I still in New York City? Yes, I moved from Brooklyn to Queens, but I'm still a Brooklyn girl and I'm still in New York City. And I love my new apartment so far. I know a lot of people have been asking me about the new apartment. I want to do a video about minimalism because, like, as you guys can see, I don't have anything in my apartment. Like, I purposefully try to keep all the countertops clean. I try to keep everything off of the visible places. I try to keep everything super minimal because it helps with cleaning, and also it's a mindset that I have where I'm not gonna put stuff everywhere. I'm not gonna fill my house with clutter. It really helps to save money, honestly. That was one of the biggest things that helped me save money, was when I transitioned to minimalism, and it kind of happened slowly. The big bang and the push for me to become fully minimalist happened when I experienced the apartment fire in my old apartment, because I had to leave behind my lamp, my carpet, the couches, the desk, little tables, things that I had there that I was like, I'm not gonna take this stuff. It's either not in good condition anymore or it smells bad. And once I did that, I felt okay, should I replace those items right now? Is that how I want to use my money in my savings account? Is it an emergency for me to get a carpet again, or should I not get a rug or a carpet? Like those little things, I ended up deciding no. And I read a book by Marie Kondo, which if you guys know, the Konmari Method. This is like the famous minimalism book, which is written by this Japanese woman who has her own method of doing her minimalism, where she recommends that you fold your clothes a certain way and you like do everything very extreme. And I 100% recommend it. Actually, recently when I was this year in April, I was at a conference for the National Dominican Student Conference that happened in NYU, and I saw the keynote speaker was Dasha Polanco from Orange is the New Black. And afterwards I talked to her and I told her about it, and she was so interested in it. We downloaded the book for her. She listened to the audio book and she really got into it. And so we were like in contact. I was telling her like, listen, this is what you got to do, girl. Like it's going to help you change your life. And it really helped her a lot. And I feel like a lot of people can benefit from minimalism, because it not only does it have to be that extreme, the Konmari Method, but it could be little small ways that you improve your space. Like when I come in, I'm like, oh, I don't like, there's not stuff everywhere. My old apartment, it was clothes everywhere. There was stuff piled up. Like it was a mess. Now I'm like, I can breathe easier when I come to my space, because there's not a lot of stuff everywhere. I don't have junk piled up. I don't have a bunch of, things everywhere. So it also means I'm spending less money. I didn't have to replace the lamp, the carpet, that rug, the couches and all that stuff. Like I just kept it really simple. So I'm not going to show you guys right now the other side of my apartment, because it's kind of messy since I'm waiting for things to like get all settled in. But really, I don't have a lot of furniture. I don't have a lot of stuff at all. And I intend to keep it that way. I really do want to make sure I keep minimalism throughout my life, not just with my like space, but also with my money, with my wardrobe. I try to keep my clothes simple, try not to buy too much. Like when I was in college, I was spending money on so much stuff. Now I don't really shop that often. I only buy things when I really need them. So minimalism is definitely something that I recommend. I see D. Anderson says, I agree. I mean, if you just Google or YouTube minimalism, you're going to see so many people. The minimalism community is huge. I'm new to the game. I'm brand new. I'm like dabbling my toe in minimalism right now. I'm not really all in like a lot of people, but I'm ready. Like I'm so ready and willing to become fully minimalist, because it has already, the little changes that I've made have helped me so much, like changed my whole life and my mindset, and saved me money and saved me time and made me feel better. Like, so definitely recommend minimalism. If you're not sure what it is, definitely look it up, read about it, watch videos about it. It's worth it. I've been doing this, were you saving during that period? When I was not, I'm assuming this question is about when I was between leases. Yes, I was definitely saving. One thing that actually happened was when I was between leases, I didn't have to pay rent because I was staying with family, and which is amazing that my family is able to allow me to stay with them and support me that way. But a lot of times people don't have that option. So I recognize my privilege, and I'm really, grateful for that. But because I didn't have to pay rent because I was staying with family, I had extra income. And so during that time, or, extra money, during that time, I was like, oh, I could, splurge a little, which I totally could have and would been justified to do that because it was a long year and I went through a lot. But I instead chose to break it in half, and I invested half and then I used the other half. So I probably splurged a little bit more than I normally would on food. And like, actually, I'll make a video about this because that experience made me change the way that I budget a little bit. So I'll make a video about my new budget, which I'll talk more about in detail in another video. So I'm going to leave that as a cliffhanger so you guys can come back and check it out. Should I drop everything and use my savings to travel to South America and marry a local, or should I find a sugar mama and travel the world? I'm done. Do you? I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but if you drop everything and use all your savings to travel and it doesn't go well, you will really regret that you didn't go there with a safety net. So I personally would not do that, but if that's what you want to do, I would go only if I had a cushion. Like if I had some money aside that I could save and be like, all right, I know that, this much money is going to be there in case I ever need it. I see a ton of comments. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to like balance them. I'm like, YouTube comments are coming in, Instagram comments are coming in. I'll go back to Instagram for a second. I see, hi everybody. Oh my goodness, you guys are asking me such great questions. Let's see, how many credit cards do you have and how do you use them? Oop, who's that? Joseph Lewis. You need to go check out my YouTube video. I have a video about what credit cards I have and why, and I have not opened any new credit cards since I posted that video. So if you go check it out, it is up to date as of the last time I posted it. Accountability is huge. Absolutely it is. It is definitely one of the biggest things. If you cannot hold yourself accountable and you need somebody else to do it, then that's definitely going to, it's going to make a big difference in your success. Let's see. Advice on student loan forgiveness plans. Is the 10 to 15-year income-based repayment and paying IRS taxes on the forgiven amount worth it? This is such a good question. And I've been getting this question so much because I used to be a teacher. So a lot of teachers, they bank on this. They bank on the federal forgiveness program, which before I read this recent article about it, I thought, oh, this is such a great thing. If you're going to work in public service for a really long time, like if you know that you're going to be a teacher or another type of public servant, you're going to work in nonprofits or something like that for the rest of your career, then definitely, send your minimum payments for 10 years and then have the rest of it forgiven. That is an amazing deal. But then I read an article, and I'm not sure the title of the article right now off the top of my head. When I post the video, I'll come back and put it in the description box so you guys can check it out. But basically, there's an article, you could probably Google it and look up how many people actually successfully got their loans forgiven through that federal program. And the reality is that it is not a lot. It's less than 100 people that actually went through the whole process and got forgiven. And there's like 30,000 people that had applications in to have their loans forgiven. And the reason is because they make it really like stringent. Like they have these really strict rules about getting your loan forgiven. So people think that they're on the right track. But any little thing that you do during those 10 years could make you not eligible anymore. So like, you won't qualify if you change jobs and you, had a gap between like your jobs. Or there's all these little things. I don't want to say misinformation, but at the end of the day, the point of that article was that it wasn't as easy and it wasn't as guaranteed as they painted out to be, right? So a lot of people ended up really frustrated because they thought they were going to have their loan forgiven, and they went through 10 years of making their minimum payments, and then they were told, no, the government's not going to actually forgive that debt. So be careful with that. Do your research. Check out that article. Go to Google right now and just Google like how many people federal loan forgiven, and you will find that recent article. I think it was either the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. I don't remember, but it very recently came out, and I actually sent it to my sister and was like, look out, because I know that she was planning to do that as well. So it's a very common thing a lot of people plan on doing. But if you don't do your homework, you might end up, not being happy with the result because you think it's going to go one way and it might not go that way. Let's see. How can I get a credit company to remove a closed account from my credit report? You have to call the credit bureau and ask them to remove it. I did this. And at the end of the day, if you have the closed account on there, and it could depend on A, how long it's been there, B, like how it was closed, if they closed it on you because you weren't using it or because they didn't want you back as a client, as a customer, or if you closed the account, it could impact the decision. But basically you have to reach out to your credit bureaus and you have to say, this account is closed. I don't want this on my credit report. What do I have to do? What are the steps I have to take to get this removed? Who can help me? And just stay adamant about it. Be on top of them, and they will lead you to somebody who will help you with that. Because I definitely did that. I had a closed account that I paid off, and it was still on my credit report. Like a year later, I'm like, why is this here? It doesn't need to be there. So I asked them to remove it. I just paid off all my credit card debt this month. What should be my next move? Love your channel, by the way. If you don't have a safety net right now, which like an emergency fund, then I would say your first step after becoming debt free is to just build up a few months or half a year, however makes you feel comfortable, however much time makes you feel comfortable of savings. So a lot of people say 3 to 6 months, and that is like the general rule of thumb, but some people might not be comfortable with that. Whatever amount of money you can sleep on every night that will make you feel comfortable. I mean, not literally, please do not put money under your pillow, under your bed, guys. Put it in the bank. But if you go to sleep at night knowing that you have this certain amount of money in the bank that's there in case of any kind of emergency, you're gonna sleep so much easier. You know what I mean? It's kind of like your insurance. Like if something happens, you have that money there. It's like you have an emergency, medical emergency, or your car breaks down, or anything that requires money like right now. If you don't have it, you're gonna end up borrowing it, which you don't want to be in that position. That's not a good position to be in financially. So if you have your safety net, your emergency fund in place, then you can obviously go and invest, like start investing. Like check out some of my investing videos. I definitely recommend a Roth IRA if you make under the income limits, and yeah, I mean, it just depends on how you want to invest your money, but I 100% recommend it. If you already paid off all your debt, you're debt free, and you have an emergency fund, like a bank account with a certain amount of money in there that makes you feel good about it, then move on to investing. That is definitely the only way that you're going to make your money work for you way more than it would sitting in a bank account. But I don't recommend you put everything in an investment account. Don't invest everything after you get that free. Make sure you have that cushion, that safety net, that emergency fund is so important. Do not skip that step, because the money that you put into the stock market is not going to be available right away when you need it. It could be, but it might not be. And so you want to remember that it's there, and it's going to be really hard to get it when you need it. Not really hard, but like harder than it would be to go to a bank and just withdraw your money. So you want to be able to have access to that money too. Let's see. How long does it take to have good credit starting with no credit? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess it would depend on what actions you take, what steps you take. If you open an account and you start to do everything right, I imagine within like 90 days or probably 120 days, you'll get like a score, because most people start with like no score or a really, really low score. But after a few months, even 3 to 4 months, I promise, like you'll start to see that behavior getting reported. If you have a student loan or a credit card or personal loan or whatever kind of credit you have in your report, you'll start to see it getting reported, and they'll start to calculate your score within a few months. But it's not going to take overnight to go from no score to excellent score. That's going to take a long time, especially because you need a lot of payment history. You need years of doing things the right way to show them that you're a trustworthy borrower. So it's not going to happen overnight. Unfortunately, it's not something that, you can just do one day to the next. Why did your credit score drop though? Well, I talked about it in my video, because when I left my old apartment, the bills were in my name. And I think for some reason, one of them wasn't closed out completely, even though I called and I made sure that it was. So I think it was an error on their part, but I chose to just pay it. You guys can check out my video about that. I posted that when I was at FinCon, basically, because that's when I found out. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. But it was like $60 something. I just paid it to get it removed and dealt with. And you know what? It's not even on my credit score anymore. So it's not on my credit report anymore, because I just checked it the other day and it was not on there. Thank goodness. Let's see. Which bank or card is good to start for a student? If you have a bank account, literally at any bank, anywhere, you should have a student account if you're a student. I recently did a talk at a high school, and I found out that a bunch of the kids in the room had bank accounts with Chase, but they didn't have student accounts. And so because of that, their accounts were getting charged like $5 every month, because they weren't at the minimum balance that the account required them to have. But they're like 17 years old. Like, of course they're not going to have a couple $100s in there. And so I was like, you guys, you're students. You need to go to the bank or call them and tell them that you should have a student account, because usually student accounts will offer free checking, free banking, like across the board, a free checking account, free saving account, all that stuff. You shouldn't be getting charged fees when you're a student, because you're not even working full time yet. Like, that's ridiculous. So if you are a student, any bank you choose, make sure it's a student account. And at the end of the day, when you're a student, I'm going to assume, I don't know this for sure, I shouldn't assume, but I'm going to assume that you probably don't have a lot of money to put it in the bank. So if you don't have a lot of money to put in there, that's probably because, you haven't been working full time, which is totally normal. But at the end of the day, you're not going to worry too much about the APR, the interest rate. So a lot of people talk about when you open a savings account, you want to make sure you have a high yield savings account online, which is true. But that's only if you're actually going to be stacking money in there. If you're going to be moving money in and out of there, or you're not going to have a lot of money to begin with, then you're more concerned with the fees. Make sure there's no fees, which is why I say to make sure that your account is a student account, because if you get hit with a bunch of fees and you only have $50 in your account, 10 months later, you got charged $5 a month every month. You have no money in the account just because the bank took it in fees. Like, the fees kind of add up more than the interest would, because interest is not going to be that much. Even if you're getting 2%, right, which is probably the highest right now, around 2%. That's not really going to make a big difference if you only have $50 in there, right? 2% is only really going to make a difference when you have a lot of money in the bank. So definitely want to think about that. Me too, exactly that, Victoria. Yes, I mean, it just, at the end of the day, it's a math problem, right? It's like, would I keep getting $5 taken out of my bank account if I only have $50 in there, or should I try to get 2% at the end of the year every year from my bank account? Like, hello, the $5 is going to add up so much faster. You're going to lose all the money you have in your account. So at the end of the day, just kind of compare them, and if the math makes more sense to go one way, then go that way. Let's see. Are credit cards like the Gold American Express better than a credit card for your credit report? At the end of the day, none of them are better than the other for your credit report. They all report, or I shouldn't say that. Make sure whatever credit card you open, you're guaranteed to, you check and you make 100% you're sure that they report to the credit bureaus. Because if they don't, it's not going to come up on your credit report, and it's like basically a waste of your time. So you want to make sure that any card, any account, any anything that you put, you're going to go get credit from, that it reports to the credit bureaus. So if you don't want to open a credit card, I have a video about self-lender, which is a really good option. You pay them every month, they save the money for you, they report those payments to the credit bureaus, and then at the end of the year, they give you the money back. So you end up basically saving up like $1,000 or even a little less or a little more by paying them every month, and it helps your credit. But you got to make sure they report to the credit bureaus, because if they don't, it ain't gonna do you no good. And honestly, all the companies, Visa, Chase, American Express, all of them, Discover, Capital One, they all usually have major credit cards that report to the credit bureau. So it's not like one is better than the other. Although people make it to seem like American Express, oh, my Amex, oh, it's so bougie, it's so much better than a MasterCard or whatever. But like, at the end of the day, they're very similar. Just make sure you get a card that gives you the rewards that you want and that has terms that you like. The APR is not too high and stuff like that. Keep up the great work. Appreciate what you do. Thank you. That is so sweet. All my Instagram people, I love all the positivity coming my way. For car loans, no longer they give you the choice to make payments straight to the principal. You see, maybe they used to, but not anymore. It's a money game. It's all about money. Whatever they can do to make the most money, especially off of people who need to borrow money, then they will, right? So it's interesting when you think about how when you invest your money, you can get like 9% or like even maybe 10% over a long period of time if you continue to invest in index funds, which is really great because the bank will only give you 1%, 2% if you invest in a savings account. But when you compare that to when you borrow money from these banks, a credit card average 15, 16, 17%. And the highest 29.99%. So they get to make 29.99% from you when you borrow money from them. But when they borrow money from you, when you let them hold your money in the bank, they only give you 2%. It's wild. So at the end of the day, it is a money game. So people have to make sure that you're aware that every time you borrow, there's a price. Obviously, there's an extra price. It's not just borrowing what you borrow. That interest is going to accumulate as well. Let's see, what questions do I have from my YouTube people? Trying to get an authorized user for someone on a $5,000 card that's open for 8 years. This will help while you get 2 to 3 cards, especially if you're in your 20s. Authorized user is a great option only if, I'm gonna say this loud, only if the person whose card you are gonna become an authorized user on is actually a responsible person when it comes to their finances. If you become an authorized user on a credit card and that person is not making their payments, it's gonna hurt you too, because the way that they use their credit is basically something that you're co-signing onto. You're saying, oh, I'm also going to take their credit history, their payment history onto my credit to help me. But if it doesn't help you, then it's gonna hurt you. So you gotta make sure that you don't just take anybody's offer. If somebody in your family says, oh yeah, I'll let you be an authorized user so I can help you establish credit, you need to be like, hold on, that's a great offer, but it's just like dating. If anybody offers to take you out to dinner, you're not just gonna say yes to everybody and anybody. You gotta make sure that this person is worth your time. So you need to be like, hold up, let me make sure, how long have you had the card for? Have you always made your payments on time? Have you ever had, any delinquencies? Have you, make sure you ask them. And it's okay if you ask to see their credit report. This is a big decision. And if they mess up, then you'll have to, it's not the end of the day, because you can call and get removed as an authorized user, so it won't hurt you anymore. But that's still a step that you're gonna have to go through, which is like, oh, why would you do that if you didn't have to? So just do your due diligence, do your homework, make sure you ask all the right questions before you go and let somebody add you to their card, because it could hurt you. So you want to make sure. I'm looking to buy a house. Is it okay to use my 401k for a loan, or should I not? A lot of people do. I personally wouldn't. It's hard, man. With these personal finance questions, it's hard because it's kind of like, I can't tell you what to do. I can only say, I personally wouldn't do that, because it's meant for a certain reason. But I'll tell you the both perspectives, right? Both of the perspectives are this. The first one is people think, yes, it's okay, because that house that you're going to invest in is going to be a source of retirement income for you. You're going to use that rental property, maybe, right? If you use, if you have that house and you say, I'm going to let people live in the first floor, I'm going to live on the second floor, and I'm going to rent the first floors, and I'm going to get collect rent money from these tenants, then that kind of becomes a source of income for you, which is great, right? But it's not always, peachy keen. Renting and becoming a landlord has its challenges, right? Can be challenging. So that's one thing, right? And if you're willing to do that, then you might see it as an opportunity for you to make money for your retirement. So you kind of, the way your perspective sees it is like you're replacing the 401k retirement account with a rental property that's also going to serve as retirement money. But then there's a whole nother camp of people that say you made the 401k was specifically for your retirement, and that was pre-tax dollars that you set aside to work for you when you're retired. They do allow you to take it and put it towards your first home, but at the end of the day, that's more like giving you a break. But at the end of the day, I would also say, like, the perspective there is that's not what it was meant for. What you should be doing is saving up for your down payment on your house. And if you don't have the down payment on your house, then you're a home buyer. You're not ready to be a homeowner, right? Because in order to have the home, you need to be able to afford it. And I personally do not have real estate. I'm not a real estate investor yet. But at the end of the day, I think it really does matter for you to do it when you're ready. Being ready for me means I have my debt paid off completely. I have my emergency fund in place. I have investments for my retirement, and I can afford a down payment. That is my personal opinion. But of course, some people have done it and they might, hit me up like, what you talking about? I use my 401k and it worked out fine. Okay, girl, fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying it doesn't work for anybody ever. I'm just saying that I personally wouldn't do it myself. I'm sure that it has worked for other people, but just do your research and make sure that you understand that if your house situation doesn't work the way you want it, or your real estate property doesn't work out the way you want it, your retirement money is more of a place where that account's going to be there and it's meant for retirement. The house can be a little bit more challenging. And the first hit on your credit, if it's okay if you need multiple secured cards for multiple on-time payments, I would say if you have a secured credit card, I would not get multiple secured credit cards, because a secured credit card is just a first step to get credit. Once you have a secured credit card in place, they're going to start reporting the payments that you're making every month, and then you can call up your secured credit card and ask them to transition it to an unsecured credit card. At that point, then they would say, okay, hopefully you've had 6 months or more of on-time payments, and they shouldn't have a problem giving you your deposit, your money back, and then transitioning your credit card into a big girl credit card, an unsecured credit card. But I wouldn't have multiple secured credit cards personally. I just don't see the point. The whole point is to take that first step and then transition. Why would you have multiple and then you gotta go putting $200 on this card, $200 on that card, $500 on that card, and then waiting to get all that money back and then transition the cards? Just do one. I would say just do one. I would just do one. Let's see. Paid off and closed my accounts, and they say it takes 10 years to be removed from my credit report, but you said you called the credit bureaus to have them removed sooner. That depends, Dana. It depends on, I think this is Dana. Yes, this is Dana on YouTube. Dana, it depends. It depends on what type of account. It depends on who the lender is. Sometimes they make it more difficult. I had credit cards on my accounts and they were closed on me, and I just called and I stayed on top of them and I did everything that I could, and then they removed them a couple months later. And a lot of times this happens with collections too. People say, don't pay off your collections. Don't pay them off. And it's, my advice would be just pay it off. If it was not a fraud, if it was not an error and you were responsible for that collection, just pay it off. Because at the end of the day, you're only hurting yourself by allowing that derogatory mark to stay on your credit report and kind of make like a big red mark on your credit. It's just not worth it, especially if it's affordable. If you cannot afford it, if you cannot manage it, then your best bet would be to call them up and say, hey, I'm not trying to be delinquent here. I'm trying to make payments, but I can't afford it all. Can we set up a payment plan? At least that will put you in their good graces and won't hurt you as much. But you just want to be proactive about it. A lot of people are like, avoid it, don't pay it, run away. It's like, if you hear that advice, I think your gut knows that ain't good advice. Like, anytime somebody's telling you to run away from a problem, pucker your lips and look at them like, what are you saying? That's usually not going to help to run away from the problem. Okay, let's see. We already talked about that one, on-time payments. I want to raise my credit score, but it's taking a really long time. I had a 780 score and it dropped to 630. I made the payment, but not even close to 700. Other than that, I pay on time, but only have 2 credit cards. What I would say is it's probably not the number of credit cards that you have. If you only have 2 credit cards, that's probably not a big deal. What I would say is how much did you pay? Because you said you made the payment, but not even close to 700. So your utilization has to be under 10%, and the lower it is, the better your score will be. So if it's at 1% or 2%, you'll get more points than if it was at 7% or 8%. So even though it's under 10%, yes, it's in the excellent category for utilization, but the lower it is, the better your score will be. So I definitely recommend that you pay as much as you can. If you haven't, who asked this question? Miss J. Miss J, if you didn't pay everything down to lower than 10%, as low as possible, then I would first do that, because the utilization is the easiest place to make an impact. And then if it's still not increasing after that, it probably just means that you're new to the game. You gotta wait. Your payment history probably has to increase. You probably need more years of making on-time payments in order for your score to go up. Let's see. Thank you, April, for that compliment. That's so sweet. I had to put some lotion on before I started, because I know, light-skinned people, we get ashy too, so I had to put some lotion on before I jumped on. Will this be uploaded later? Yes, it is actually being filmed live on my YouTube right now. So if you're on Instagram and you're watching me and you want to come back and watch the rest later, or catch the earlier bit of it, you can just go to my YouTube channel. It's going to be on there live, and it's just going to have today's date on it. So you guys can check it out over there. I love minimalism. It helps with decluttering and helps with anxiety. Yes, it does, 100%. Hey, I see my girl Carmen is on here. What's up, girl? My niece Melody says hi. Hi, Melody. Thank you for joining my live tonight, babe. What's your advice on starting a first new business in your hometown? I think it's the same thing with what we talked about before with real estate. If you're not ready, a lot of this, again, breaks into 2 camps, right? You got the camp of people over here saying, don't do it unless you have the money. And then you have the camp of people over here saying, this is an investment, starting a business. And if you're positive and you think, really good thoughts about your business, and you know that it's going to succeed, or you're confident that it's going to succeed, then it's an investment that you're willing to take risks in your business. That's on you. Which one of those do you agree with more? If you don't agree that you want to be really risky, then you should probably save up enough money to make you feel like, all right, I got this cushion of money here. If my business fails, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to be a financial mess. I got money here to help me out. But if I don't have any money and I'm starting a business and the business fails, what money do I have to fall back on? So just make sure you know which camp you agree with. And if you want to take the risk, that's on you. But understand that you're taking a risk. Just be aware of the risk that you're taking, because a lot of people, when they take big risks like that, they don't understand the risk they're taking. They're not fully understanding, what's on the other side, or what could happen if it doesn't go the way they might think it's going to go. What's your advice on starting? I already just talked about that. Let's see. People have to follow it closely and make sure it's on track. It's this is about the student loans. Yes. So basically, if you do end up trying to do the federal forgiveness, then you have to be on top of it. You have to be making sure that you are following all the rules, you're checking all the boxes, you fill out the form every year. There's all these things that the article says. Make sure you're doing those things, because if you're not, then you're not going to be eligible. So you want to start right away. Thank you so much. I'll do some more research. Yes, please do. Anything that I say on my show, please do not take it as you did your research because you asked me. This is just the first step. Once I say something, go and look it up. Go and confirm it. Go and look it up, because people call me out all the time. For example, on my Roth IRA video, I got an email actually that I need to respond to. Somebody said, hey, in your Roth IRA video, you explained that for 5 years after you open the account, you can't touch it. And I explained that in a confusing way. So this is a perfect time for me to clear it up. Basically, if you have a Roth IRA, if you're really close to 59 and a half, so let's say you're close to 54 years old, you have to open it before you're 54 and a half. Otherwise, you cannot take the money out, because the 5-year rule basically happens when you're going to go take the money out at the age of 59 and a half. So if you have a Roth IRA and you're 25 and you open it this year and you put $500 in, next year you have an emergency and you need those $500 back. Hopefully this is not you, because this just means that you did not plan your life out correctly, because you should have a savings account with $500 in it. But if that is you, you can take anything you put into a Roth IRA, you can take it out without taxes and without penalty. But you cannot touch the profit, the earnings that money makes, the growth in that account, you cannot touch. You have to wait till you're 59 and a half. But there is no penalty and no taxes if you touch your own money that you put in, anytime, pretty much literally the day after you open the account. So that is something that I want to clear up, because the 5-year rule only matters if you're close to 59 and a half. Because if let's say you're 58 years old and you open your Roth IRA, next year you turn 59, and you, 6 months later, you turn 59 and a half. And now you're like, oh, woohoo, I'm ready to retire. Let me take the money out of my Roth IRA. You can't, because you just opened the account. You need to have it open for at least 5 years in order to take the money out at 59 and a half. I hope I explained that better. See, that's why I didn't do a good job explaining it in the first place. But yes, so that's why it's a really great option. And I love the Roth IRA. I live by it because it's basically like another savings account that gives you the average performance of the market. If you fill your Roth IRA with VTSAX, which is the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, if you fill up your Roth IRA with that fund, then you're basically investing in every single company, and which means that you're going to be guaranteed the average. I'm going to post a video about this too, about index funds, because in my job, every time I go to professional developments with teachers, I talk to them about how index funds are really important for us to teach young people about. Warren Buffett actually gave LeBron James advice about investing, and he told him to put his money in index funds. So I'm going to do a video about that, and I'm going to break down the advice that Warren Buffett gives him, because even if you go watch that video, it's still kind of a little confusing because he uses specific terminology from the investing world. So I'm going to break it down. Come back to the channel and find that video soon. What's your opinion on, I don't know what that is, for rebuilding trade lines? I don't know what those companies are. Hutton Chase or OX Publishing. I'm not sure what those are. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I'll look it up and see if I can get back to you. If you send me an email, I will definitely answer that question when I look into it. How's your Betterment doing? Mine is struggling. My Betterment is doing good. Well, mine is doing well because I started it probably like in 2013, and it's actually doing okay. But right now, I know the market is like, woo, it's like a roller coaster ride. I mean, it's always like that, but right now particularly, it's going through a correction. So I know that, that's people are struggling with their money in their accounts right now. I saw a question that I meant to answer, but then it went away. Any books you recommend reading? The Millionaire Next Door, 100%. Let's see, what other money books did I read early on? The Money for the Young, Fabulous, and Broke, the Money book by Susie. That one's a good one for like habits and behaviors. If you're thinking about investing and you want to understand investing, you want it broken down real simple, there's a book called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Amazing. That book, literally, I wish I had read that book when I was 18, because if I read that book when I was 18, I would have started investing back then in index funds, and I would have been chilling right now. Chilling straight 10, 11 years of investing in index funds. But I didn't read that until recently, but I 100% recommend those few books. There's more, but check on my Instagram. I always post books that I like. Go check my Instagram and you'll see some more books if you scroll down. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Somebody said I'm so loud. Let me move the mic away. Sorry, guys. I'm just loud. Did you call the bureaus or the credit card companies to remove your accounts? I called the credit bureaus directly. I did not call the credit cards unless the credit bureau told me that I had to call the credit card company directly. And I think that happened to me once, and I did do that. But I started with the credit bureau, and they helped me. Let's see. Thank you. I'm getting so many. I'm getting so many comments about positive comments about the post, which is great. I'm not going to go too much longer just because I know it's late, but I do want to take a couple more questions from my Instagram fam. How long should I keep a credit card? You should keep it for the rest of your life. I don't suggest closing any credit cards, because when you close a credit card, it hurts your credit score. So basically it means that you're removing one of your accounts and you're lowering the age of credit that you had. So anytime you close a card, not good for you, especially if it's a card that you've had for a really long time. So I definitely do not recommend that you do that unless it is charging you a really high fee or something like that and they won't waive it. Then I would say, okay, and then in that case I would consider it. But I probably wouldn't do it otherwise. My credit has improved during the past few months using your help. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Will credit cards be closed if I keep them without a balance for too long? If so, how will that affect my score? Yes, they will. It didn't happen to me, but I've read about this and I know people that it's happened to, where they had a credit card and they didn't. Oh no, I'm sorry. I am blue. You guys keep asking me questions. The thing is that my YouTube is like being really weird right now, but I have it right here on my computer. I'll show you. I have my YouTube questions, so just keep sending them in. I will definitely get to them. But will credit cards be closed? Yes, because essentially what you're doing is you're not creating business for them. When they create a card, they have to print a plastic card for you, send it in the mail. They have to pay people to look at your account every month and send you a statement, print the bill or email it. They have to do all these services, right, to keep your account open for you. And if you're not using the card, every time you swipe a card, they get paid a little fee from the merchant, right? And so when you don't swipe it, they don't get any business and they don't get any money. So it's basically like you're wasting their time and their resources. So they end up closing it on you. This usually happens only like, I would say like 12 months or more of not using it at all, of no usage. So it's okay if you only use your credit card once a year. That at least keeps it active. But if it's more than that, then I would be like, okay, then I would be concerned. So just try to use it once a year to keep it active. That will help you out. Oh my goodness, my family's like, you need to slow down. I'm sorry, guys. I just talk really fast. Secured is good to start with. Yes, it is. What would be my personal finance deal breaker if I was dating? Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I think it's not anything about the person's financial situation. It's more about their mindset. If I'm noticing that the person is like not, with it, like they're not trying to pay off debt quickly, they're not trying to be debt free, or they have a lot of debt and they don't think it's a big deal, or they're like really frivolous with their money. Like those are the kinds of things that I would pick up on and be like, ooh, this is a red flag, I need to run the other way. But if it's somebody who's responsible, and even if they have like some debt piled up, if they're like actively taking steps to get rid of it, and they are in complete control and they have a plan, then I respect that. Like I wouldn't really be too turned away from that, because it really just depends on how you handle it. Because I had a lot of debt at one point, and I know if I met somebody and said, oh, I got $20,000 of credit card debt, and they're like, I'm not gonna date you because of that, like that's not right. Like I got a lot of growing to do, give me time. I was still in my cocoon, and I had to grow my butterfly wings and fly. I just got a credit line increase to $10,000. Is there such a thing as utilization is too low? No, the only utilization that's too low is 0%, right? 0% utilization means you're not using it at all. That would be what I would say would hurt you over time, but really nothing beyond that. What credit score do you recommend to buy a house? I would say you want to have an excellent score, because in order to basically get the best interest rates on your home mortgage, you want to have a really good score. So I would say just an excellent score. Make sure that you have an excellent score, and make sure that you get pre-approved. Like look around. Don't just say, oh, my score is really good, like let me just go out there. Do your work beforehand. Do your homework, and make sure that you know what you're doing before you put yourself out there. Because a lot of people don't actually do their homework and try to get pre-approved beforehand. Congrats on all your success. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this is the sweetest message ever. Tell us all about your new apartment. It's really cute. It's a tiny studio. So here's the thing about my new place. If you're willing to sacrifice certain things, you'll be able to have perks in other areas, right? So what's really important to me is a really nice space. I like a really nice space. I sacrificed for a lot of time, for like many years, living in little apartments. Like I lived in the basement of my parents' house for a long time in Brooklyn, and then I lived in a 2-bedroom by myself for like $1,350, which was ridiculous that I was paying that much. I only did that for a few months, and then I left because it was just too much. And then I moved in with 2 other roommates, so I had a 3-bedroom apartment. I've also lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. All of this in the same neighborhood in Brooklyn. I've dealt with mice, I've dealt with roaches, I've dealt with a broken sink and the landlord's not fixing it. I've dealt with leaks coming through the ceiling. Oh my goodness, if my old roommate is watching this right now, she's probably laughing, because we had a horrible leak and we literally had a bucket there just like collecting the leak. So okay, in my time, I have struggled with apartments, and so quality is really important to me, and amenities have become more important to me as I get older, because I'm trying to maximize my time. Like I'm trying to do a lot of things in a short period of time. So I have a full-time job. I also run my YouTube channel. I also have like a lot of other projects that I do. I have like my family. I have a relationship. Like I have all these things I need to balance out, and I want to make time for me and make sure that I'm exercising, make sure that I'm cooking, and making sure that I'm eating right. Life is stressful. Being an adult is not as easy as a lot of people might think it is. Younger people might think it is. So in order to be able to make the most of my time, I have to be able to be as efficient as possible. So that means I want to work out really close to where I live. I want to have a washer dryer in my apartment. I want to have a dishwasher. These are things that really are not necessary, but it's nice to have if you can afford it, right? So I paid off all my debt. I saved, and I'm finally at a point where I can actually afford a little bit of a nicer lifestyle. So that is why that's why I basically do that. And And when I'm looking for an apartment, those things are really important to me. So right now, when I found this building, I really like that they have like a pool and they have like a doorman to make sure, like, if you get anything delivered, they handle it for you. They call you up if you have guests. There's really nice elevators, have a washer and dryer. Like, everything is really nice and new. So my rent is probably about $1,300 a month, and that's how much I was paying at one point by myself for a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. And now I pay that for a studio, which again, that's half of my rent because I split my rent with my boyfriend. But that is definitely something that I know a lot of people wouldn't be willing to pay that much money for such a small space. But again, if you're willing to become minimalist and not have a ton of stuff and live in a small space and get all those nice perks, it's nice. Like the other day, I was in the pool and then I went to the sauna and then I came back and I was like, oh, I feel like I live in a hotel. It's nice to have these amenities. It's not necessary. I'm telling y'all right now, I am definitely living, a little bit, I would never have lived like this before when I was in debt. Let me just say that. It's a little bit ridiculous, right? If you can't afford it. But because I can, I do indulge a little bit. But that's also because I don't spend a lot of money outside of housing. Besides my food, my rent, my cell phone bill, and a little bit of fun money, everything else goes to saving and investing. So you guys know I save and invest like half my income, and now my income is way more than it was when I posted those videos. So I have a little bit more wiggle room, but I still try to make sure I'm hitting 50%, if not more, of a savings rate. I'm trying to save as much as I can. Let's see. Bing Okay Nows says, Bingo knows. Why did I read it like that? Bingo okay knows. Now, Bingo knows says, what financial YouTubers do you watch? Oh my goodness, my very first YouTube channel that inspired me to start my own was Mike and Lauren. If you guys are if you're into YouTube and you watch YouTube for my Instagrammers and for my YouTube people, definitely look at Mike and Lauren and go back to their old videos, the ones that I used to watch back in 2014. Like, those videos show their growth. Like, now they are retired and they're not even, like, I think 30. They're not even 30 yet. Maybe Mike is 30, but Lauren, his wife, is not even 30. And they have a kid and they live like really minimalist, and they have rental properties that they make money off of, and they basically don't have to work anymore unless they want to, besides managing the rental properties. But I love Mike and Lauren. I think they inspired me really early on to start the process, start the journey young. Like, don't be afraid just because it seems like most of the people talking about investing and saving are older. It doesn't mean that you can't do it just because you're young. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. You can really teach yourself a lot of things. Maybe not anything in the world, but like a lot of things. So that's definitely something that I love them. Let's see. I have the sound turned off. It's just distracting. Oh, sorry. These financial channels, not only do I learn from the uploaders, but everyone else in the comments has something useful to say. That is very true. A lot of you guys are coming to me with a lot of knowledge, which is amazing, and you're part of the conversation. It's not just me giving you a tutorial. It's more of a conversation. So I definitely agree with that. $2,000 for a studio is actually really good for a nice building. Yeah, zero-based budget. If you think that, I agree with you. I think it's not bad, given the fact that it's a small studio. It is. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would have found it to be way too pricey for me before, but now, given that I've seen a lot of apartments in New York City and what they offer, it's just something that I'm actually willing to pay half of that now, more than I, ever would have been willing to do that before. All right, for my Instagram peoples, I'm about to say peace out because it is going to time out. But if you guys have any other questions, just DM me. Slide up in my DMs with your questions, and I promise I'll get back to you guys. For YouTube, I'm going to do this for a few more minutes. So if you have a last few questions, just throw them into the comment section and I'm going to be answering them. I see, what are the days and hours that you're normally doing a live on YouTube stream? It depends. I generally do them at night, usually 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is, usually like 5 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m. on the West Coast, for my Americans that watch for all my American people. But who's that? Shoe Addiction 44. I'll shout you out. Hey, how you doing? So yeah, I think it just depends. But generally, I'll do them at night for sure. And then I might usually do them either on a Monday night because, it's the beginning of the week and a lot of people are, got the motivation to learn and watch videos and engage. Or I'll do them on the weekend. So if something is, kind of like a slow weekend and I have some free time, I'll do them on the weekend. But always I try to do them at night so that people, have had their whole day and can jump on at night. That's how I try to do it. East Coast, best place to live. Hey, I am blue. I agree. That's why I live in New York City, although it is expensive. It is expensive. Let's see. All right, a couple more before I wrap up. I'm definitely from New York, if y'all didn't recognize it from my quote-unquote DK accent. Are you looking forward to the new Ultra FICO scoring system? So we talked about that a little bit earlier, Mark. Basically, I was saying that it's an opt-in thing, right? You only say that you want them to check your Ultra FICO score if you need them to check it because you got rejected from using your regular FICO score. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to it because my regular FICO score is actually really good. It's above 800. But for people who have a really low credit score and actually have good habits in their bank account, this is for you. All right, let's see if I've got one more. As a credit card authorized user, does the main user credit score affect the score of the authorized user? Not their credit score, but their credit report. The things that are on their report will affect you because you're taking their credit history, any accounts that they've had, the length of credit that they have, all of that stuff is definitely going to impact your credit because you're basically borrowing their credit history and their behavior, their payments, and all that stuff. So not necessarily the actual score, but think about it. Their score comes from the fact that they either did a really good thing or did a really bad thing with their credit for the time that they've had it. So they kind of connect a little bit, but the thing that matters more is their credit report and the behaviors that they have. Hi, DG. I see you saying hi. What's up? What's up? Thank you for answering my questions. Of course, truth, grace, and serenity. I do not have a problem answering questions. All right. So people are asking me about Dave Ramsey. I don't think Dave Ramsey's crazy. Who said that? Somebody said I think he's crazy. I never said that. I would never say that. What are your careers and how are you balancing? Okay, I'll get to that question in a second, Dana. But for the Dave Ramsey people, I think that Dave Ramsey, again, a lot of the things that I've said tonight create two camps. And this is the same thing. With Dave Ramsey, he creates two camps. People who are like, whoa, this is too insane and like restrictive and like extreme for me. And then there's other people that are like, this is great. This really worked for me and this changed my life. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing. It is just one way to live. I personally don't choose to follow that way because credit actually helped me a lot, even though it could have went really bad if I never fixed my credit situation, but it didn't because I got a hold of my credit situation and I fixed it and I took control. So at the end of the day, I think what he's essentially saying is that you need to be in control of your money. And I completely agree with that. I think that you do need to be in control of your money. However, to me, using credit to my advantage is something that I think is a tool that a lot of other people could do too, but it takes learning. They have to learn about the credit scoring system. They have to learn about what helps you when it comes to credit and what steps you need to take in order to improve and increase your score and be in a good, credit category. So at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really who's trying to help other people is crazy. Like, I think there's a lot of things that work for a lot of people. For example, when it comes to budgeting, a lot of people say that when they use YNAB, you need a budget. It's a type of budgeting system, a platform where you can track every single penny. Some people think that's too extreme and that's wild and crazy. And other people say it changed their life. So again, it depends on the type of person you are. This is just like when you have a kid and you're trying to decide what school you want to put them in. You want to put them in private school, you're going to put them in parochial school, Montessori, you're going to put them in public school. It depends. It depends on what you believe about education, about how kids should learn. It depends on what you think your kid would enjoy and what type of personality your kid has. Again, all of these decisions really just depend on you, and you have to make a decision that is custom made for you. So I can't tell you who to trust and not to trust, who to follow and not to follow. You have to do the work and see if it matches your lifestyle and what you believe in, if it works for you or not. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys. I see a bunch of, I love Dave Ramsey, but he is closed-minded when it comes to credit cards. He kind of is, he's a little old school. He says that nobody should have credit cards, which is interesting because then I have heard him say to people that they should consolidate their debt if their credit cards are really high, which means that they're still going to have credit. So, which again, it's kind of like in his mind, I imagine it's like which one is the worst of two evils, right? Having really high interest rate debt or having lower interest rate debt. But at the end of the day, when you have really large amounts of debt, one thing I do disagree with him on is the way that you should pay off the debt. I know that a lot of people say psychologically the snowball method works, but I personally did the avalanche method and would recommend the avalanche method if you have a lot of debt. If your debt is all really low APRs, like if you have interest rates that are all really low, like 5%, 7%, 9%, then it probably doesn't really matter, and you can probably do the snowball method and be successful with that. But if you have lots and lots of debt and it's growing like mine was at 25% interest rate, and then you have another student loan that's only like a 7% interest rate, there's no way that I would ever say that you should focus on the student loan debt first just because it's a smaller amount. It's 7%. Like, you need to send the minimum payment on that and focus on destroying that 25% credit card debt. That is what I would say to anybody. So because it's growing literally more than 3 times faster. So it doesn't make sense ever, I think, when you have really big amounts of debt and really crazy different interest rates for you to snowball. Like, I just personally wouldn't do that. But again, it depends on the person, because a lot of people do say that psychologically, you know, they get energy and momentum and get excited once they pay off one, and then they get into it. But at the end of the day, if you're committed to this, you know, the total amount of debt that you have is what you should be focusing on, not individual accounts that you have. You should be focusing on, I went from $13,000 of debt to $10,000, then I went to $7,000, now I'm going to $4,000. You should be thinking about your total amount, not individual ones, because yeah, it's all about your net worth at the end of the day. It's not about each individual account. All right, I partly agree with Dave, but the investing side really gets me excited. Yeah, I mean, the investing stuff is exciting. Although he has, in his book, I read Dave Ramsey's book, because obviously when you're in personal finance, you want to read all the different opinions and people out there. In his book, he says that mutual funds can return 18%. That is just not true. I have, from all of my research that I've done, I have yet to find any research that says that mutual funds can return 18%. That's just, I don't know. If you find research about that says that, please send it to me, because I was like, what? I was listening to his book. I had the audiobook and I was like, what? 18%? Where? Please show me a mutual fund that gives 18%. Like, that is really rare. So I would definitely not agree with that. And I would say index funds are probably better, because you get rid of the mutual fund manager, and even though they're a special type of mutual fund, you don't have to pay a manager to manage them, and you probably average about 8 to 10%, depending on obviously the time period and how the market is doing. All right, I see Miss J says, I'm going to ask, pardon the question, are there any jobs available by employers? I have education working with high school students. I don't think so at the moment. I would say I don't think so, Miss who's that? Miss J. But yeah, check back and see, because things always change. You never know. Generally 7% after inflation. Yep, exactly. So I don't think 18% was accurate at all. And I was kind of like taken aback when I heard that. I'm like, this guy seems to know his stuff. I'm shocked that he would tell people that they can get 18% in a mutual fund, because I definitely don't know what mutual fund or any kind of fund would give that much back. Okay, let's see. 2 years. Let's get. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. 18%. I thought it was 12%. He said 12%, 18% is still really high. It's just not true. It is not true. Okay, I think that is pretty much it. Somebody says, who's that? Bingo knows that index funds, no one can outdo the market. Some people can, but it's very hard and it's very rare. I think there's statistics that show that over a 10-year period of time, 89% of people, of the 89% of the time, index funds beat the market, or beat index funds match the market. Index funds perform better than mutual funds or actively managed funds. And then when you look at a 15-year period of time, 90, like it goes up to 90, something percent, which means only 9 or 10% of accounts that are actively managed would beat the market. So that's really not a lot. What makes you think that you're going to be the account that's going to beat the market when 90% of people don't beat the market? So it's really important to understand those facts and those historical pieces of information, because that will help you make a smart decision about investing. It's one of the reasons why I choose ETFs and funds like index funds and things like that, which I talk about on my channel. But I'm going to wrap it up there, you guys, because it has been over an hour, well over an hour. Who's that? I don't have a question, however, read their book. Sure. Yes, please. I always encourage people to read books. I would never say no to that. But I'm going to wrap it up here, you guys, just because it's been over an hour. Thank you so much for joining my live. If you have any other questions, please always feel free to email me at missbehelpful@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm going to post a video this week, so you'll see one. But till my next live, peace.